care deeply about all children. So I just want to make you aware of some of the library books that are in your library. The first one is The Bluest Eyes, and I'm going to read what's in here. Collie raised his other hand to her hips to save her from falling. He put his head down and nibbled at the back of her leg. His mouth trembled at the firm sweetness of the flesh. He closed his eyes, letting her fingers dig into her waist. The rigidness of her shocked body, the silence of her stunned throat, was better than Pauline's easy laughter had been. A bolt of desire ran down his genitals, giving it length, softening the lips of his anus. Surrounding all of this lust was the border of politeness. He wanted to fuck her tenderly, but the tenderness would not hold. The tightness of her vagina was more than he could bear. His whole soul seemed to slip down to his guts and fly out into her, and the gigantic thrust he made into her proved only the sound she made, a hollow suck of air in the back of her throat, like the rapid loss of air from a circus balloon. And there's enough of that part, and then this is a bed with them, or to take a child bride for my own playful. I felt friendly. I gave them mince money, and they'd eat ice cream with their legs open while I played with them. It was like a party. I think there's enough in that book. And the next book that's in Kennedy Library is called Beloved. If a Negro got legs, he ought to use them. Sit down too long. Somebody will figure out a way to tie them up. The 5 sweet home men looked at the girl and decided to let her be. They were young and so sick with the absence of women that they had taken to cows. A year of yearning, when rape seemed the solitary gift of life. Beg to differ, Garner, ain't no nigger men. And so they were, Paul D. Griner, Paul F. Garner, Paul A. Garner, Hallie Suggs, and 6 of the wild men. All in their 20s minus women, fucking cows, dreaming of rape, thrashing on pallets, nibbling their thighs and waiting for the new girl, the one who took baby Shug's place after Hallie bought her from 5 years of Sundays. A step before him was baby Shug's replacement, the new girl they dreamed of at night and fucked cows for at dawn while waiting for her to choose. It was over before they could get their clothes off. I think you've heard enough. It makes me, I'm sorry to have to even read that to you, but I really do worry about children reading books like this, and they're in your Kennedy Library. Okay.
Our next public comment is Zoe Alvord.
I don't know how we got here. I trust you guys. I had children here. And I have been watching this happen across the country for about a year. And I said to myself, I pray to God those books aren't here. And then we found them. And I told myself that I would do this if I had to. And I'm here, and I don't want to be rude. And I want to be respectful, but this is not respecting our children. And as far as I know, these books have been approved by, I believe, the principal. I'm not pointing fingers, just saying. And so I want answers. And we deserve answers. And I've been up here before, and I haven't heard response back. So I want response. I want to be able to trust you. I want response. My hand slid between her legs, and she jolts. I pull back. What? Don't stop. Are you sure? Yes, no stopping now. I ease off her thong and she takes off mine. Our feet get tangled. She licks our underwear off the end of, or she kicks our underwear off the end of the bed and throws herself against me. Her hair drapes around my face as a veil. She plants kisses on my nipples and my stomach, one thigh over the other. She arcs into the air. She's over me. Her hair hides my face, so I rake my fingers through it, long, black, thick, whatever. I want to see her watch her face. My hands slide between us, between our legs, and finds her spot. She makes a high squeaky sound. Her hand is there too, on mine. I take her wrist and I steer her away. I want to do you first. I pause. Don't you want to come together? Her tongue, oh, and by the way, this is on page, so this whole book is a disaster. 189, How Beautiful the Ordinary. Her tongue is on my stomach, my belly button swirling round. She's at my fringe. When she spreads my legs, I'm so aroused, all she has to do is kiss me there. Flick her tongue across me a couple of times and I explode. God, she's coming. Waves and waves, I can't even read this. I think you get this one.
Okay, our next public comment is Maurice Spoken.
Hello. I hit the Detroit Lakes public school system in the late 50s, had my license in the late 60s, and I thought I'd seen it all, heard it all. I mean, you know, it's been a wild run. And I'm gonna be 70 in a couple months, and when my granddaughter shows up and says, Grandpa, there's some nasty books at the school, and I'm going, well, what do you mean? And so we start looking into it. And I can read a bunch of this stuff, but I don't know that you want me to. I mean, you're getting the point. The idea of the kids, they just need to be kids. They just need to grow up. You know, it's just hard to understand how this the little kids, my granddaughter, my grandson, they're at the school here, and we try to insulate them from bad things in the world, but I don't know where this is going. I don't know what to do about it except to be concerned. Come here and figure out how school board meetings work, and how can us as parents, you're all parents, how can us as parents from the community, how can we all get together and sort this out? It doesn't make sense. I'm having trouble with it like the rest of the people that come up and talk about this. I just wish there was an easy answer. I don't know what to do except come here and talk to you, ask questions. Yeah, I've been Melanie's neighbor for 29 years. You know, we watched our kids grow up together, you know, and move away. And I never thought I would be looking at this at my point in life. I'm a retired engineer, and to pull me out of my workshop and get me in here, it's an act of God. It is. So I just want you to know that everybody's concerned, and we don't know what to do except come here and talk to you. So thank you for your time.
Okay, our next public comment is Jamie Bates.
Hi, gang. Okay. So I'd like to preface my comments by asking you not to make the easy and false assumption that the criticism of this book is in any way an attack on the LGBTQ community. If this book was about heterosexual proclivities, I would be equally as offended. This is also not about banning books or censorship. This is about age-appropriate reading material at a public school library where an overwhelming majority of students are minors. So the book I'm going to read from is called This Book is Gay by Juno Dawson. I found many parts Obscene, but the part I found the most troubling were the pages on giving the reader a tutorial on how to download and use a sex app. I will read that portion now. How a sex app works. Number 1, upload a tiny pic of yourself to the app. Number 2, the app works out your location. Number 3, the app tells you who the nearest homosexuals are. Number 4, you then chat with them. Number 5, because they are near, it is easy to meet up with them. Continuing on, Great Sex App Debate, the Pro Sex App. I've met a variety of interesting people through sex apps. They are predominantly used for sex though. They're sold to us as social networking apps, but we all know what they're really for. It's a bit like selling a dildo under the pretext that its sole use is a draft excluder. I don't have a problem with that aspect of it. If people want casual sex, then something like Grindr is a must. Continuing on, a little bit more. If you're that horny and you want to do a sex meet the trick in a public place for a drink first. That way you can assess if you fancy them. Okay, that concludes my comments on this book. But the reason I found this book so disturbing is I feel this is a sex trafficking incident waiting to happen, and this book is available to minors. I think that's not so great. In conclusion, I do appreciate the description we got on how to have a book evaluated and get it removed from the library. That's very helpful. I'll be following up with that. But I'd maybe encourage the board to develop maybe a better screening process so some of these books don't get into the school in the first place. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Beth
Rachel Olson is a mother of school children in this community. She was called away to a medical emergency for her father, so I'll be reading what she had prepared. A fellow concerned parent, grandparent, brought this book to my attention late on a weekday. After I read what this book contained, I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was this: what if my soon-to-be 5th grader checked out this book because she loves rainbows? I'm going to read some of the content of the book so that you understand the concern and devastation I felt after reading it. Also, consider that it's highly uncomfortable for me to read this out loud, and it might be uncomfortable for you to hear. But if that's the case, how do you think the children take this information and process this obscene content? Read from pages 173. Doing the sex. 2 men can pleasure each other in a variety of fun ways. Number 1, handies. Something they don't teach you in school is that in order to be able to come at all, you and your partner may need to finish off with a handy. A good handy is all about the wrist action. Rub the head of his cock back and forth with your hand and try different speeds and pressures until he responds positively. Blowies. Oral sex is popping another dude's peen in your mouth, or indeed, popping yours in his. Lips and tongues, yes. Teeth, no. It's more about sucking. It's more about sliding your mouth up and down the shaft of his cock. Oh, my concerns I am bringing you are: there is a policy for removing books from the library, but how do we filter what's in the school's libraries now? What is the vetting process for books here? I didn't think this was happening here. I was naive, and now I feel betrayed. Where do we go from here? I wanted to inform you and work together to find a solution. Thank you again, from Rachel Olson.
What book was that?
This is the book Jamie read from. This book is gay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, and then our last public comment is David Helgerson.
Thank you for the time today, appreciate it. We believe that it is parents' right to decide when sexuality discussions are appropriate for their individual children. And we believe that it's the parents' prerogative to decide to protect their children from sexual content. We want to work with our schools and with any other group toward the goal of advocating for the right of parents to direct the education of their children. Toward that goal, it must be acknowledged that sexually explicit materials are harmful to adolescents. Referencing the Council on Recovery, brain scans show teen brains dominated by areas associated with pleasure, reward, and emotional response. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter regarding personal reward. With repetitive flooding of dopamine, the teen brain becomes wired to crave more. How does this content receive placement into a Fergus Falls public school library? Well, through the American Library Association, whose website celebrates its contributions to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and affiliates such as the American Association of School Librarians, whose motto is transforming learning. We understand that not every teacher indoctrinates students. It is the international global organizations of influence. The American Library Association, CASEL, C-A-S-E-L, that you've heard in this room before, ISTE, which is in the process of being embedded throughout the Fergus Falls school curriculum, as stated by Superintendent Drake's newsletter of September 26, 2022. And we also acknowledge the enormous influence of teacher unions. You may view public comments as just complaints. These comments you've heard tonight are based on real concerns of Fergus Falls parents. I would like to suggest two solutions. First, we are glad there is a method of handling complaints in the Library Media Center policy. We understand it is nearly impossible to know exactly what every book contains, as there are so many. With that said, I would like to suggest a proactive review of obscene materials that are already in the library. Establish a local committee of invested individuals to include parents, media staff, school board members, administrators, and members of the public at large, to identify books containing obscene materials as defined as such in Minnesota statute. Second, for books that are approved for school libraries, require the district to post the list of newly purchased books on their website for at least 60 days after approval, and notify parents 7 days before this review period. This will give transparency to parents and letting them know that what new materials are coming into the library. We want to work with the district to protect our children from these dangers and would welcome the opportunity to help develop these solutions with the board. Thank you. Could I approach the chair? I just have a handout. There's enough here for your board. It's the Minnesota Obscene Materials Statute.
Alright.
I just want to, and we're not going to go back and forth, I just want to point out, I know Maurice had asked two questions. How school board meetings work and don't know what to do. And a couple of the speakers referenced our policy. And we're policy driven, we're process driven, that's what we do. If we want to expel a student, we have to go through a process. If we want to do like tonight, if we're doing a requested leave of absence for teachers, we have to go through the process. There's always a process to do things. If we have bullying in school, there's a policy for that. So I think the reference was made a couple times tonight to our policy on material that shouldn't be in the library. And so if somebody believes that there's material that shouldn't be in the library, it's on our website, it's policy 630. It starts with a written request. Here's the book. Here's what's objectionable about it. It goes to a committee of parents and teachers and the librarian. And then it's removed from the shelves right away. And there's a report made to the principal. And so we either keep the book, remove the book, or make it age appropriate. Once that's done, if the person that filed the paperwork is not happy with that, they can appeal it to the principal or to the superintendent. And if they're not happy with that, they can appeal it to the school board. So the appeal to the school board is kind of the last step in our procedure and our policy. And so I just want you to know that that's out there. Again, it's policy number 630. It's on our website. And it also includes the front part of that policy covers how our media center selects materials. And so that's the way it is right now. And so if there's changes to be made, I'm sure that we'll have more discussion in the future. But if you have books that you think shouldn't be in the library, and obviously many of you do, and you already have some titles, just fill it out. It'll be taken off the shelves right away. It'll be reviewed, and I think that's our process right now. We can't just make up things as we go. We can't make decisions tonight. It's not our formal meeting anymore. But again, policy 630. Okay.
Can I just briefly make a comment?
No, we're not gonna have any more comments.
We can't even speak.
3 minutes.
You can't speak long.
Thank you.
so we have